Oh, hello. This is Mound Maker. And today, I'm back with another episode of my Nightreign exploration guide. Today, we're going to be covering day 1 on the Great Hollow map. And this is my second time attempting this. I almost completed another version of this video a week ago. And the more I viewed it, the more I felt it didn't fit what I'm trying to do with this channel. The goal of my videos is to present you with information and options. This will allow you to better make decisions as a player. But the video that I was making felt more like a step-by-step video. So I scrapped it and started all over. With that said, in preparation for this video, I did watch about 50 runs from players that I consider top tier. And based on what I saw, the easiest way to have a good run on this map is going to be hitting all 3 of these goals on day 1. Number 1, you should be a minimal of level 7 going into the day 1 boss fight, with a better goal being somewhere between 8 and 10 or even more. Number 2, you should crack a minimal of 2 crystals if solo, or all if on a team, with a better goal of cracking them all if solo. Number 3, you want to get at least 2 flask upgrades, with a better goal being 3 or more. So, why are we jamming all these goals into one day? Because on day 2, you're going to ideally be doing the tower and or the castle, and to get through them effectively, you're going to want as much time as possible available to do them. So things like visiting churches is just time inefficient if you're doing it on day 2. Beyond navigation issues, I think the reason this map feels harder to a lot of players is because the choices are a lot more linear than the base game map. And just to let you know, I will be circling around at a later date and doing rune to effective HP, as well as other types of stats you've come to know me for. But at this time, I'm mainly focusing on keys to having an effective run, and trying to help those who are struggling navigating this map to make better sense of it all. So let's get to that. There's 3 starting camp locations on this map. There's a camp in the northeast, there's a camp in the south, and there's a camp in the west. Regardless of where you are dropped, you're going to want to slowly work your way towards the center of the map. There's a few reasons for this. There is a high density of field bosses in that area. There's always at least 1 church, often 2. There's always at least 1 crystal, often 2. And the day 1 circle always closes near the center. So you're going to be heading there anyway, so you might as well make that the direction that you're heading. With that said, let's get started with the south camp. We're starting with this one because it's the only one that feels similar to a first camp from Limveld, meaning it has soldiers and a knight who are quick and easy to clear, and you will also be at level 2 after clearing them. There are a few chests that contain weapons and also breakables here. Once you clear the enemies, you have 3 main options. Number 1, go left to where the Site of Grace is located and explore the attached area. Number 2, go left to where the Site of Grace is located, then over the ledge to where the Great Church is located below. Or, number 3, go to the right and head towards the southeast castle. Options 1 or 2 make the most sense, so you know what that means. We're going to do the crazier option first. And that's going to be going directly to the castle by going up this crystal bridge. Once you reach the castle, a site of grace will be in front of you. Level up. Before we go over why I'm here, I'm going to give you a simple question to ask yourself to determine if this is a valid route for you. Ask yourself, do you find cursed blades, omens, and banished knights easy to kill? If yes, I do feel like this is a valid option. If no, this would be a waste of time for you and will likely kill your run. Entering this castle curses you and halves your health. Once we break the required number of crystals, the curse is broken and we can explore with full health. Since we haven't done that, we currently have half our health. If you see a divine bird warrior down the hallway and you have a lot of faith in your skills, you can kill it for 30,000 runes in a dormant power drop. I generally do not do that though. Instead, the reason I come here is to go to the left and down this cliff. You'll find a teardrop here, who will drop a talisman. Then, if you scale this wall, you'll end up in a hallway. Go down the hallway and clear the enemies. Before opening the chest, look around to make sure a boss isn't getting ready to aggro you. As long as one isn't, open the chest and you'll get a selection of 3 talismans. Once you make your selection, head to the next room over, and there's going to be a cursed blade, banished knight, or omen boss. You want to kill them for their runes and their dormant power. Now, with not a ton of time wasted, we've acquired 2 talismans, a decent amount of runes, and a dormant power. I'm going to leave this area, go out over this ledge, then drop down to the Great Church area below. Before we get to the Great Church area, let's rewind once again to our other options. Both of those options are to do the more sensible thing and go left after clearing the south camp. First, go here and level up at the site of grace. Then, look down the hill to see what is here. It will either be another small camp, a sorcerer's rise, or a church. There's also a possible crystal spawn in the corner and a possible scale-bearing merchant as well. If it's a church, you won't be able to see if the crystal is there, but if it's a church, you'll be heading down there anyway, so check for the crystal as you do. If it's a camp, you'll be able to see if the crystal is there. If it's a rise, you will as well. This scale-bearing merchant doesn't curse you on this map, but it does give you the opportunity to bargain if you want to do that. From here, you have 2 main options. Head off the north cliff and proceed to the west starting camp area below, or head east and over the cliff to the Great Church area. Since we're already covering the west starting camp in its own section, let's go to the Great Church area over the east cliffs. Here, you'll find a Great Church. That church can have either an Inquisitor boss or 2 Ancient Hero bosses. Keep in mind, the Ancient Heroes are mini-bosses and therefore do not spawn a Site of Grace upon defeat. They do, however, each drop a dormant power. Under the church is another boss that can be either an Elder Inquisitor or a Spirit Caller Snail. There's many ways to access this area. Just find a hole or stairs leading down and keep going down. Upon defeating either of the bosses, interact with the tome in the back of the room and you can duplicate any weapon in your inventory. This is likely the only reason you'd want to come down here. There's a pretty good spot for loot here too. I've opened many of the chests down here and looted all the bodies, and this spot right here seems to have the highest chance of getting a purple. Speaking of which, the chest behind this altar has had a purple pop up a few times for me, and even a gold once. Just keep in mind, all these spots are more likely to give you nothing worth looting most of the time. There's some bodies out on ledges nearby that people swear by, but I've never gotten anything higher than a blue from them. Maybe it's just bad luck on my end, but you can try your luck as well. If you have an ultimate up, you can use it on this statue, or any statue that looks like it. They seem to have a decent chance of getting a smithing stone too, which is the only reason I hit them. Here is a possible crystal spawn, and there's also one off in the distance there. It's far away, but if you see it, it's definitely worth heading out there. And then here is a spectral hawk that would take you to the center of the map once you've done what you're going to do here. There's 2 field bosses right outside the church. One of those will be here, and then the other will be here. There's sometimes also a Divine Bird Warrior mini-boss guarding these stairs. That's if the Inquisitor is the boss of the church. Overall, there's a pretty good boss density in this area, and you can spend most of your time in this area on day 1 and still have a good run. Just remember, you want to go after crystals and churches for at least some portion of your run. Since we're on the subject, before we move on to the second starting point, let's talk about density for a minute. There's 4 main density spots we'll be covering today. Here's each of those locations and the total number of bosses you can encounter along with the possible crystals and churches. As you can see, there's not a ton of differences from location to location. And since we're on the topic of locations, let's move on to the western starting location. At the start of this run, the Spectral Hawk will be flying you down for the drop-off. As it does, try your best to look to the right and up the cliff to see if a crystal is there. If there isn't one, it now makes your choice on if you should go up there or not come down to what shows on your map there. You may consider this camp the worst or the best starting camp depending on your ability. Once the Hawk drops you, you'll be in an instant boss fight with 3 Khaden mercenaries and 2 of their bat friends. Taking them out grants you 1 blue weapon choice and enough runes to reach level 3. If you clear the mercenaries, you can sprint jump off the cliffs to the areas attached to the south camp. We just covered that area. Or you can head to the Great Church to the east. We also just covered that area. But there's an additional option as well. That's to head north to the only ruin site on this map. The ruins can be marked with either poison or blood. These runes aren't like the runes from the base game map. They contain a boss on top and a boss underground. And in Blood's case, there's also an additional mini-boss near the side entrance. I prefer Poison, which has 3 spider scorpions in the basement and 1 curse blade up top. I know in my Marshes video, when I said I felt spider scorpions were my favorite Marsh boss to face, multiple people told me that they, in fact, hated fighting spider scorpions. But I can't imagine too many people would rather fight a room full of blood chiefs. Right? The crows that are on top of the blood ruins look intimidating, but they really lack damage to make being intimidating justified. You do have to kill both to get the drop though. Below the underground boss room, there's a chance for a 2 weapon and 1 talisman chest to spawn. If you have the time, it's always worth a look to see if it's here. If it's not there, it's up in the back of the upper ruins, down a stairway, reminiscent of the hidden staircases from the original ruins. If it's not there, it can possibly be down here as well. This is right next to the boss area. It's always been in at least one of these 3 spots for me. If it's not for you, just look around. I am sure it's somewhere. There is a merchant up near the ruins, and around the corner is a field boss, and also another possible crystal spawn point. And again, if you're on the blood ruin, there's this mini boss as well. And a chance for the red Abenarix that also occur at marshes to be here. Killing them drops a purifying crystal tier for use on the Lord of Blood that you will be getting as your day 2 boss. There's also a possible crystal spawn up here. And finally, there's this spot on both locations. It is near the back of the ruins, inside of a small hole that leads to an opening. I've gotten lots of purples to drop here, and I'd bet a legendary can drop as well. But I'm more of a scout than a data miner, so can't say for certain. Once you are done here, you can head over to take on the field boss if you have the time and desire, or head in this direction to make your way to the center of the map. And now, we're going to move on to the final starting camp, which is the North Camp. First, a crystal can sometimes spawn right here, so make sure you're not in the bathroom as the hawk swoops down so you can see it. This camp has the weirdest collection of starting enemies. You have enough claymen and crabs to reach level 3 if you kill all of them. You also have 2 big ball droppers of talismans. On some level, all 3 of these enemies can be annoying. The claymen are weak to strike damage, but other than that, you're likely better off backstabbing them, which is time consuming. The crabs die to a sneeze, but can be hard to track sometimes. I will add they are good for learning the proper distance you need to be standing to hit something on the ground without whiffing though. I used to struggle to hit them and would backstep attack to get a hammer attack. But since forcing myself to kill them over and over for this video, I've learned the exact distance I need to be to hit them with Raider's normal attack. I also have no idea why I'm spending so much time talking about them, so let me move on. There is an option that most people probably haven't thought of. That is to kill both of the talisman droppers, loot the bodies of your choice while avoiding combat, then go up on the left-hand ledge and kill 3 of the jellyfish. This will give you enough runes to reach level 2 and is far less time consuming than killing the other enemies the devs put here. There's 2 main directions you can go from here. One direction is up the cliffs to this Spectral Hawk location. You want to call it. You'll end up near the sewer of the Northwest Castle. This puts you right next to where a church is. And a short distance from a random field boss. The other direction is wading through the water towards the Great Church. Most would choose the Great Church route over the Spectral Hawk route, but I do think the Spectral Hawk route is worth experimenting with. As far as the layout for this Great Church, there's this big area to the left that will spawn a red-eyed crayfish who I've never seen anyone actually engage on a good run. It's only worth 16,500 runes and has a ton more effective HP than the options on the right side. Those options if the church shows a lightning emblem are mimics that turn into trolls. There's 2 of them and they are worth 12,000 runes each, and you should be able to take them down faster than taking down the crayfish on the other side, considering that if you kill them when they're still mimics before they take the troll form, you get a full rune payment as if they were trolls. If there's a sleep icon on the Great Church, that means there will be 3 tired crabs here instead of the mimics. They are worth 6,000 runes each. And as I speak, I realize I said I wasn't going to go into details on runes and stats too much, and yet, here I am, getting sucked into doing it. Again, I'm going to give a ton of stats and runes breakdown in my final episode on the Great Hollow, but for now, I'm going to try to avoid continuing on this path. The crabs will often put you to sleep at least once while fighting them, but the AI doesn't seem to have been programmed to capitalize on putting a player to sleep, as they often just stand around after doing it. After defeating the crabs, there's another giant crayfish here. It is significantly easier to defeat than the one on the other side. In addition to these two enemies, there's two putrid flowers on the island to the right. They don't give much in the form of runes, and they don't drop any rewards, so this is kind of a dead island. So what about the Great Church itself? Well, there are incantation tables here, but there's no bosses or mini-bosses to beat in the church. If it's poison, there are abductors here. If it's lightning, there is a giant ball. And they do drop random weapons upon defeat, so go ahead and pinata them for their candy if you wish. You can head to the north entrance of the southeast castle from this location, but as I said, I'll be covering the castle more in depth next episode. So that leaves the mines as the final place to talk about before moving to the middle of the map. These mines are not mines you can just go in and out of. Keep that in mind before entering. Follow this path to the mini-boss. The mini-boss who drops the smithing stone too is this single crystalline. There are a lot of ice-breathing snails all over the place, but they are more of an annoyance than a threat. The two rooms that are in this location do drop a lot of blues, even some purples, maybe higher. They are worth looting if you have the time. There's more chests further in the cave, but at some point, you just have to get out. So from here, I'm just going to show you the exit. Once you're out, you will be in the underground section I'm not covering today. But you will only be a short distance from the same center section we've been discussing. So, let's head there now. Alright, so here's a map showing where you'll be coming from if you're leaving one of the locations we just covered. The center of the map has one static location that's on every map pattern, and that is this church here. So if you feel like you're good with 6 flasks for the Night Lord, you only need to collect 1 more flask elsewhere. If we come in from the south, the landing spot has a chance to be a church. There's also a possible crystal spawn here. You'll be able to see that crystal when you're flying in from the south, but if you didn't fly in from the south and still need crystals, this is always a good spot to check. Turning left, we can engage a field boss. Normally, it's a relatively easy field boss. Once we clear it, we head over this bridge here and to the right to get the flask upgrade from the church that appears on every pattern that I've seen. And now, I'm going to head to the jellyfish cliff. Everyone should stop by and loot these 3 bodies. They seem to have a very high chance of dropping at least 1 purple and even a legendary occasionally. From there, we have a few choices. You visit the merchant area, then head to the Crystal Coliseum, or you can just head to the Crystal Coliseum and visit the merchant later. We'll cover the merchant first. Down this way is where the merchant is. Check his inventory or buy our smithing stone 1 or whatever you want to do. After or before that, check this corner right by him for a possible crystal spawn. And there's also a church spawn location not too far away from both of them if you haven't grabbed it yet. And now, let's visit the Crystal Coliseum. This is just what I call it, as it's a circular arena made of crystals and there's always a field boss in the center. There can also sometimes be a crystal spawn inside of it. Once you clear the field boss, there's another field boss right around this corner. Most of the time, if you spend a little bit of time doing stuff on the outer parts of the maps, by the time you clear both of these field bosses, the circle will already be closing. If it hasn't, if you need to work on churches or crystals, go work on them. If you don't need to, that means you are ready to release the curse from the giant crystal. So head over and do that. And if you still have time remaining after that, go ahead and jump to a castle or tower and get an early start on day 2. I won't be covering that until next episode though. Either way, at this point you should be a good level, and have a total of at least 5 total flasks, and have the curse released, or at least set it up to be released at the start of day 2. And that's day 1 at the Great Hollow.